Alrighty then, so to continue with the Oak Lake story, I've now turned off number one highway into the town of Oak Lake. And when we lived here, there was no bypass. Number one highway went right through the town. And this is it right here. My speed is not even registering. Oh, 45. Okay, that's good. So I'm heading into town. I'm going east. And these are all pretty much all the original residents. Nice little bike park on the left. That wasn't here when I was a little guy. We moved here in '68 and I was about 9 years old. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the little drive-in hamburger restaurant that came to Oak Lake. It was so exciting. It came to Oak Lake in about 70 or 71. And that's just coming up on the right here. And right across the highway from it, there's Joe Dandy's on the right. Right across the highway is now, it's called Dirty Word Customs. But that used to be Sam Brown's garage, where my brother worked many years ago. And I would go wash windows there and have a lot of fun. And that building straight ahead of me is still the Lewis Cattle Oiler Company. Used to be a school, but when we moved here, it was not a school. It was just an abandoned building. But what was Mr. Lewis's first name? Joe Lewis? Anyway, he started this cattle oiler business, and he's like a gazillionaire now because he had a really great idea. It's a rope suspended at an angle, like 45 degrees down to an oil dispenser, and it oils the rope, and the cattle walk underneath it and get their backs oiled with a repellent for flies and black flies and all that kind of stuff. So there was a lot of activity there. I don't know anybody that was employed there. There used to be some, people going in and out on this end. There was some shipping, I believe, done on this side. I don't know if it's still open or not. But yeah, Sam Brown's right there, now called Dirty Word Customs. And in the back you can see some vehicles parked in there. We used to rip around in there with an old Dodge that Sam let my brother Paul cut down into some kind of a dune buggy. It sure would be nice to see that thing again. But anyway, I'm starving. I'm going to go in here and have me something to eat. And there we are. Yeah, so saying goodbye to Joe Dandy's. And I turned into that old guy, telling the 12-year-old, I don't know, she was probably 14-year-old girl at the counter, that, yeah, I was like 11 when this place was built in the late 70s. And onion rings were 50 cents. And she said, yeah, they're like $7 now. I thought, oh my God, am I that old? And there's the old Esso over there. So I'm going to make a little bit of a tour around the town. And this on the left used to be a Gulf gasoline station. Really good mechanic. Not Mano Weens. Yeah, Mano Weens was there. Gonna turn into town here on 2nd Avenue East. one of my friends used to live in this house right here on the left for a while. And right here on the left, that's our old house. My dad planted all these humongous fir trees here. First of all, he had to cut down a whole bunch of horrible maple trees, I think they were. We had tons of fun climbing through all the downed trees, and he hauled them away somehow. There's my old junior high school right across the street, so I wasn't too late ever from getting to school. Yeah, and there's the front of our house. That stump is left over from a huge willow tree. There's still parts of the willow tree growing there, but it had broken off in the wind. That dead log on the ground there, that's got to be like 30 years old by now. Yep, it's still the same. Looks the same. The house still is the old hip roof house. And the garage is still there. Stairs is much the same, although it's got some new boards on it. And the garage is redone. Looks a lot nicer now. Still the same size. Fence in between. And the big garden that Dad used to have has been reduced to a little bit. You can sort of see the outline where it used to be there, though. And they're watering it. I don't remember these people's names, but they were friendly. Now here's the schoolyard on the right. They've put chain link fence around that, and whenever, not in our day, never had chain link fence around it. We were pretty much told to stay in the schoolyard, of course. Oh, and look at this on the left corner is cute old truck buried in the ground. That's one way to get rid of it. Claim it's a antique. And we'll go around behind the schoolyard. Used to be tennis courts there, but there's a building in place of the tennis court. So we're going to turn left here on Aspen Street and go east and go by what used to be my elementary school, if it's still there or not. So this was the path I actually walked. The way I drove here today, right now, is actually the way I would walk to school. And it was a nice walk. Very nice walk. And yeah, there's the old school. Looks kind of rough on the right-hand side here. I don't think it's a school anymore. And this church was moved in from elsewhere. There's two churches here. St. David's United Church and the Anastasia, I can't read from here, Roman Catholic Church. Interesting that they're kind of on the both on the sort of the same property, eh? Okay, now if we went straight ahead, we'd end out by the cemetery, which I'm going to go in a little while. But I'm going to go down Cameron Street, which we never knew it as Cameron Street at the time, but that's what it is now. There's the railway tracks on the left, which used to startle us awake sometimes at night, but still love the sound from it. It eventually became just part of the background, and you just kind of grew to love that old sound of the train racketing along. On the other side of the tracks is the golf course there. So as you can see, there's tons of old oak trees and everything else still fully encasing the town in greenery. Now we're coming up to an intersection, kitty corner to the right. It will be the house that used to belong to Dr. Schurz. And in the late 70s, his house was overtaken by a killer who murdered an RCMP officer in Virden, Manitoba, and then fled here and took Dr. Shirt's hostage. And he had I believe he had his own gunshot injuries fixed up. So that's the old house right there on the right. Yep. And I was home at the time on leave from the armed forces, and there was everywhere in town was just completely held to a halt with all the police presence all over the place. Every intersection had a cruiser car. I'm just going to drive down what is still the main street. Things have changed quite a bit. There used to be a hotel on the right, but that's gone. This used to be Pennington's Hardware. Don't know what it is now. And there's the beautiful post office, which is still a post office for now. Up ahead on the left is the town fire bell. So if there was a fire in town, somebody would run and ring the heck out of that bell and summon all the firefighters, volunteer firefighters. And here's our matriarch, our ox. Can't remember his name. And the ox cart. Ox cart has been changed locations several times. It used to be out on the highway. It used to be out by the fairgrounds, and now it's in here. Speaking of the fairgrounds, let's shoot out to the fairgrounds. That's pretty cool. As a kid, I spent a lot of time out at the fairgrounds. Yeah, that was the place to be. And we'd play in the barns, and we would smoke Old Port cigars. Yeah, Old Port cigars that I think we got from Bert Fuller's place out on the highway. Yeah, and we'd go in the barns, and among all the bales that we piled up to make a fort, yeah, we would have a lot of fun. One really naughty thing we did was we'd pull the plastic clips, the mouthpieces, off the end of the cigars. We'd melt the end and stick it to the ceiling in the barn, and we would turn it into like a burning blob of napalm. And I think I ran over a cup or something that stuck underneath the bike. Maybe it will dislodge somewhere. So you can see the barns over there. I should have to scoot over there. Scoot around. And I'm driving through what used to be a baseball diamond, but it's no longer run as a baseball diamond. I'll bet it's strictly used as a fairground area for the trailers, because there's rodeos are in town here, right? Not right now at the moment, but here's a lot of stalls for animals to be tied up. This red barn is the one we used to play in, and I don't know how it's still standing, but it is, with us doing all our stuff in it. Oh, I see there's a baseball diamond over there now. Okay. And here's the actual rodeo ring on the right hand side here, where they do all the calf roping, the bareback bronco riding, yeah, the bull riding, bull wrestling, or whatever all they do. Oh, it's an old fire truck. I wonder what it's doing here. Cool. Drive around back. This is much faster than walking around. Holy shit. Excuse my French. Isn't that beautiful? I just love the looks of this, and I can just remember the smell of it, the smell of the straw. Even the manure had a smell all to its own that just brings back so many memories. It's just, love this place. Got to come back here for the rodeo. We did once during one of our family reunions. We came and hung out a little bit. Wasn't much going on in the ring. They had a bunch of young kids with their horses. They were probably like 10-year-olds or something, and they were the kids, the riders, like they were 10 years old and just ran around with their horses in the ring, and they were judged for how well they held the reins and sat and how well they trotted and all that kind of thing. So that's about it. And right now I'm right behind the grandstand. It used to be open on this side of the grandstand. There were like barn doors there and a counter, and it was used as a concession stand. And I remember my dad worked in there once, just helping out, handing out hamburgers and hot dogs and stuff like that for some group, probably legions or something like that. But actually, I spent a lot of time in this actual stand here as well, because that's where the baseball stadium was. Not a stadium, but baseball yard. And I played hardball there. I, I, I think I still have the catcher's mitt for that. My name is printed on it, David Buck, in blue red pen. Not the greatest penmanship, but yeah, it's around somewhere. That was my prized possession at the time. I loved being back catcher, but I was also a good first baseman. But I was not very adept at batting. I barely ever got a hit. That was pretty bad. So we'll go down this side street here. Don't see the sign for what the name of the street is. I didn't know anybody on this street. The next street here, I knew some kids there. I don't remember their name. It was a huge house. They had a lot of kids, and I remember no adults being around like most of the time. South City, something or other. Yeah, I think that house I was talking about is maybe even gone. Anyway, so we'll go back left down the main street, and we'll cross over the tracks to our old house and make the loop around there. So back on Main Street, heading east, and there is a co-op store. It wasn't the exact store when we came here. It was actually built several years after I left, but I think my mom and dad would have known it. And there's the ox again. Steinbach has an ox as well. And this used to be a gas station here. And one day I needed to fix up a lawnmower, and I went and borrowed Jack Dean's gapper. It's a little tool for gapping the correct spark plug gap so it works right. Well, I borrowed the gapper, and I think I kind of broke one of the gap slicer things off. And poor Mr. Dean looked at me and said, I've had this thing since I was like 10. And he almost had tears in his eyes, and I still feel bad about that. Really bad about that. Yep. So the little road to the left goes out to the golf course, and this storage unit is new. And there's our old house. The brick below and the white above. On Oak Street. What else? And this property, kitty corner, across the street from us, I don't know if anybody ever bought it, but I just love the property. Just deep and full of trees and oaks, and they used to play in there quite a bit. And there it is. There's our old house. Number 130. Garden is still where it is, yeah. And the original garage was done in red Ensel brick siding. And you see the house, the brick, there's two kinds of brick on there. The old red brick that was salvaged from the CPR train station that we tore down. Dad tore down, and us kids helped quite a bit. A lot of people helped with that. And you see the limestone, I'm not sure what they call it, a lintel, but it's a base that sits on top of the concrete um, basement footing, siding, or basement wall rather. And so those are super heavy. We used an old wooden and rope block and tackle to get those up in the air. And yeah, Dad built the fireplace, and beautiful fireplace inside. But back to the brick, so you can see two different types of brick there. Halfway up is the old one from the CPR, and then we ran out of brick, and Dad had to buy brick, new brick. So that's why it looks like that. The front has got more of the original old stuff. Yeah, my dad was a bricklayer of sorts. I never knew that, but he knew how to do it. He knew how to do everything. And the trees here, yeah, my dad planted those fir trees. They're still here. And that wasn't Dad's birdhouse thing. That was since put up by somebody. But everything looks much the same there. Yeah, except we never had that porchy sitting thing out there. We never had that. And yeah, sure brings back memories. Family photos were taken on that front steps. And then we go around the corner here, and there's a mansion in the bush here. A mansion in that it was a humongous house that was split sort of down the middle somehow into two sides. There was two different families lived on each side, but the lady that finally owned the whole thing and basically closed off one side. And actually, my dad bought a dresser from her, and that dresser is now in the home of my daughter Candace. And there's the house in there. You can just see it. You can get an idea of how big it is from here, but it's pretty massive. So we used to go out the back road, which is just up ahead where that gray truck just went by. That truck is going south. And if you were going north, you'd go back over the train tracks over to the main street. But we're going to turn left, and we're going to go south down past where the dump is, or was. See if it's still there or not. Another huge house on the left here that was, pretty big at the time. It's still a beautiful property, amazing, beautiful property. Look at that. Neat stuff in the front yard. The trees are just amazing, just gorgeous. I'm going to just pull over to the side a little bit and let this guy go through because I'm just holding up traffic. And there's a kind of a round house, I believe, if my memory serves me correct. Was it a round house? No, not here. Where was that round house? My memory. No trespassing. That's a junkyard in there now. God, junkyard on the right. Now what is this? Oak Lake. Yeah, it's still a waste site. Still a garbage dump. Cool. Very cool. Now all this land here that looks more or less leveled out into a field. Well, it used to be the sandhills. And I mean the sandhills just like in Carberry. And the guy who owned that portion of the property, the acreage, he bulldozed them into flat, like what you see here. And everybody, I don't know who the owner, who did that, but us kids, we were just brokenhearted because that was a huge playground we played in. You can still see sandhills out to the left, and I'm going to go up to the Mile Road here, which is just coming up, and go across to the cemetery because I want to visit my mom and my dad and my older brother Bob. who all have their spot of peace here. Hopefully it's not terribly wet in there and I can get in on the bike. And I'll tell you a story, and if my brother's listening, I think he knows what I'm going to tell. So I better tell it right, because he'll probably let me know in the comments. Well, knowing him, he'll probably give me a private message, straighten me out. It didn't happen like that. I was there. I was right behind you. I'll, I'll retell the stories to the best of my recollection. And Paul and I, we spent a lot of time out in the sandhills to the left, which are no longer sandhills. But when those hills were there, we had a trail that we drove the heck out of. A old, we used to call it, what do we call it, the dune buggy or the sand buggy? It was an old Dodge of some kind that Paul cut down over when he was working at Sam Brown's garage. He used the torch and cut it in half, took the back off of it. It was 3 on the tree, and that's where I learned how to drive a stick. Yeah, like 12, 13 years old, learned how to drive a stick. 3 on the tree. Had a lot of fun. And here's the cemetery. I don't like, well, I could go in this entrance, but I'm going to go in the other side entrance on the east side. This is the south side entrance. It's a beautiful entranceway, all lined with the tall, waving fir trees. So I'm going to turn left onto Road 139 West. And I'm going to go in the east entrance if I still can. I see it's there. I don't see why it wouldn't be open. It's a beautiful gravel road. They've got it all really nice, fresh, and all nicely plowed out, very nicely maintained. So several years ago, Paul and I we met and we headed out west for a drive. We were going out to the reunion out in BC. We stopped in here to say mom and dad, and we came in through the cemetery gates like this, and I don't know, I was always sent in first to everything. I think I was the, what do you call it? I was the sacrificial lamb. But that day when we came in here, it didn't quite look like this. It had rained really, really heavy, and there was water up ahead in that greener low spot. And I thought, well, I can try this out. I'll try and get through it. I thought I could. I mean, it's the road after all, right? So I'm going through it, and I'm parting the waters. The waters are parting a little bit, and then I get into a little bit of grass area. I guess I don't know if I got off the road, but I get into a little bit of the grass, and I'm gonna get bogged down. So what do you do when you get bogged down? I gave it a little bit more gas, and zip, the rear end slipped out underneath me in a counterclockwise direction. The bike went sideways first, and then it went down with me beside it, rolling in the mud. And thank goodness we didn't have a video camera at that time, but you know, that's my description of it anyway. So I get up, and there's my brother sitting actually exactly where I'm sitting right now. He's sitting on his red Goldwing, and he's giggling so hard he's bouncing up and down. Yeah, but he did come and help rescue me and lift the bike up, and yeah, I was pretty muddy. So I managed to get out of there somehow. We parked the bikes back over here somewhere. Yeah, and went and saw our mom and dad and our brother. Well, actually, I don't think, was Bob here by then? Maybe. Doesn't matter. Well, it does matter, but I don't remember at the time. So, okay, I'm just going to pull around the corner and park here, and then I'm going to get my drone out and look around with the drone a little bit. There, we'll stop about here, and Mom and Dad are just off to the right here somewhere. So I'm going to shut things down and go quietly have some time with them all, and then I'll get back to you later.